Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vic and for today's video I'm clearing off my e-reader. So I have a Kindle. This is an old Kindle, so old that it's white. I don't think you can get white Kindles anymore. This is the Kindle Touch 8th generation, which I got in 2018 for Christmas. Was a great present, and it is still running good, but I don't have one of those fun clear cases for it with stickers because you can't get a clear case for this thing. I was looking today, but I have 3 unread ebooks on here that have been on here for years and it's stressing me out. I was like very good when I first got this thing. It was a case of I would buy an ebook when I was ready to read it. So I would buy it, then I would read it, and then it would be done. It would just be done. And then one year I thought, I'll set myself a goal. I'll read an ebook every single month. And I bought a whole bunch in preparation. And 3 of them are still here. So I'm gonna read them so that my e-reader is all well and good and ready to go with nothing on it that I haven't read. For context, I think I have like 51 ebooks on here. And I've had this thing for 6 years. Ew. Well, 5 years. It'll be 6 years on Christmas. So that's not that bad, considering I've only got 3 on here that I haven't read. The ones that I need to read for the sake of this video are, if I could find them all, that'd be great. I need to read Take a Hint, Dani Brown, which is the 2nd book in the Brown Sisters series by Tania Hibbert. I need to read Before You Ghost by Debra, Anastasia, and Helena Hunting. This is the wrong season for that, but we're gonna do it. And I also need to read Lost Boy by J.M. Sullivan, which is the 2nd book in the Neverland Transmission series. It has been the absolute longest time since I read book 1. Do I remember what happened? No. Not at all, but we're just gonna hope for the best. Take a Hint, Dani Brown is, as I said, the 2nd book of the Brown Sisters trilogy. The 1st book was Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I read that the literal longest time ago. Let's see, when did I read that? 2020. Oh god. Okay, so Take a Hint, Dani Brown follows Chloe Brown's sister, a young woman who agrees to fake date her friend after a video of him rescuing her from their office building goes viral. That sounds great. I love fake dating. This sounds like it's gonna be fake dating, friends to lovers. So his name is Zaf. Okay, so he's the security guard and he rescues her from a workplace fire drill gone wrong. And that gets posted on the internet and everybody's like shipping them together, and he asks her to go along with it because his charity, his sports charity for kids, could really use the publicity. So she agrees to help him out. And it's romance, so there's gonna be tension, there's gonna be, you know, deep pasts that need to be explored, and everybody's got issues that need to be unraveled, and it's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be a fantastic time. So that's the first one. I have to look up these synopses because unlike a physical book, I can't just be like, here's the synopsis on the back. Before You Ghost. What a sentence. It's hard to miss your boyfriend when he's standing right next to you being a sarcastic Nimrod. Alright. I have a temper and he has an attitude. Things get more complicated when he's all those things and dead as well. Evan's a newly formed ghost, and I'm Sammy, the girlfriend whose ladybirds are accused of being so strong they shot him off a cliff. What? Our new life is tinged with pirates, mermaids, undead carjackers who look like they should be on the set of a horror movie, and a nefarious ghost who has it out for me. The worst part? We have to figure it all out before Evan goes ghost. For good this time. What in the absolute world? Okay, so it's supposed to be a comedy. Gonna be very lost if it's not. I mean, it sounds hilarious. Sounds like it could be really bad. I'm not sure what made me get this book in the first place. I've read a lot of Helena Hunting in the past, but this sounds like something else. Okay, so Lost Boy is the 2nd book in the Neverland Transmission series. The 1st book was Second Star. Oh my god, I wrote a review for this. What did I say? Oh my god, it's long. Okay, let's read my review. I'm gonna read the synopsis of the first one. I know it's a Peter Pan retelling and it's sci-fi. Wendy is the captain of a spaceship. Their ship receives a strange transmission from the legendary James Hook, lost 100 years earlier. Wendy is willing to risk it all to rescue her hero. She races to the planet known only as Promised Neverland. There's more to Neverland than meets the eye, and more to Hook than what was written in the history books. She crash lands and discovers a dark secret, a malevolent being known as the Shadow, looking for a host body to escape its eternal prison. To fulfill her mission, Wendy must decide whether to trust the dashing Hook or the mysterious fleet mechanic who goes by the name of Pan, and she has to decide quickly before the darkness consumes them all. So I've read this one. This is the sequel. I'm not going to tell you too much about what the sequel is about because spoilers, but what was my review of the first one that I wrote in April of 2019. Wow, that was a long time ago. Okay. I gave it a 4 stars. I said, overall, I loved this. I did find it could be a little bit cheesy at times, and I won't lie, it could feel like it was using a crowbar to force in some Peter Pan references. And it did have a bad case of insta-love. This is going great. But it was fun. The characters were interesting and deep. I loved the take on the Lost Boys and the dynamic between Hook and Peter. I thought Wendy's family in this was done so differently compared to every other incarnation of the story I'd read. I don't think anyone else has ever made me not like Mrs. Darling, but this book, wow, she was not the best parent. I loved how the author incorporated elements of the original Jane Barry story. While it did feel forced at times, I liked seeing all the little Easter eggs and connecting this story to the original. Wendy, Johns, and Michaels had great chemistry as a close group of friends, and I think it was a nice change from the usual sibling dynamic held by these characters. The military sci-fi aspect was unique, and I was shocked at how effortlessly it worked with the source material. One thing I found a bit weird was everyone referring to Wendy as Darling, but I did kind of get used to it. I'm pretty sure it's because they referred to everybody by their last names. This book was super fast paced, and I was constantly itching to get back to it and find out what was going to happen next. I still want to know and cannot wait until the next installment of this series is released. Wow! I read this before the second one even came out. Now there's 3 of them. It's a trilogy. I can't really tell you what this is about because it's a spoiler, but it is a sequel to that book that I barely remember but apparently liked. It's only had 40 ratings on Goodreads, so not hugely popular. The first book only has 238 and the third one only has 4. Why is no one reading this series? That's so sad. But yes, those are the books that I have to read for this video in order to have read all of the things on my e-reader. A part of me wants to get a new e-reader because I want one with a clear case with the stickers and the pop socket and all that. That's really materialistic and superficial. There are more reasons. My e-reader itself works almost perfectly fine. Its battery life drains faster. I didn't get the Paperwhite. This is just the Kindle Touch. So the Paperwhite has really good battery life. I know that for a fact. This one's battery life isn't bad. And for something that is 6 years old, it's really not that bad at all. Especially when you consider the fact that this model was released in 2016. It's ancient at this point. It still works perfectly well. Sometimes the screen, like if I use the button to turn it off and on, I've pushed it. Is it even gonna do it? I've pushed it again. There we go. Push it. Push it. Why do I have to push it twice? Is that normal? Is that so you don't accidentally turn off your Kindle all the time? I don't know. But I have one of these cases. I got this at the same time that when I open it, it automatically does it. So that's not really an issue for me. My case is broken as hell. I've had to, look, there's a corner is missing. I've had to glue these corners together of the case multiple times, and this one. It's just such a frail case. I don't understand it. The like fabric stuff is pilling, and now is all over my hand because it's like wearing off. Oh, that looks really bad actually. And I do think I would like to upgrade to the Paperwhite, which has the backlight and everything. I do actually use this more often than I thought I would when I initially got it. So I love my e-reader. I would love to read on it more often and, you know, carry it around. But yes, that is the concept for this video. Doing the Kindle thing, getting my ebooks read, and it's gonna be a fun time. Take a hand, take a hand. Should I turn on my bunny? She's a little much. I love that. She's balanced on the Little Guide to Taylor Swift unofficial and unauthorized. So I've been reading. I finished Take a Hint, Dani Brown. It wasn't my favorite thing. And that's really sad. And a part of me is like, this is why I'm not supposed to stockpile ebooks. Because I forget I have them. They just sit there forever. I don't feel the same pressure to read an ebook that I feel to read a physical book. Unlike with my physical books, which I go through all the time and get rid of. Sorry, you were way too high up. Let's angle you down a little. Okay. I get rid of physical books all the time. I don't go through my e-reader and delete ebooks They just live there forever. Considering I downloaded the ebook for Take a Hint, Dani Brown 2 years ago, my desire to read it is no longer the same. And quite honestly, if that were a book that I owned physically, I probably would have unhauled it. I was excited to read it, as you saw before when I was going through all the synopses. I thought it sounded really fun and I was excited. I gave it 2 stars. It was not my favorite. I don't know if it's Talia Hibbert's writing. I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm at a different point in my life than when I read the first one, but I went and looked back. I only gave the first one 3 stars. I think back then there were far less romance books in my little world. I wasn't aware of as many of them, so I didn't have a lot to go by. But this book was so cheesy. The lack of communication was annoying. For characters who were supposed to be so smart, they were both so stupid a lot of the times, and it was distracting. I didn't really feel any tension. The conflict might as well have not been there. I found myself like rolling my eyes because it just, I kept thinking, this is not how people behave, this is not how people are, this is not accurate, this is just ridiculous. And like, it is a romance book, there's a certain level of ridiculousness that exists in that realm, but I read a lot of romance and I know it can be better than that, and I just wasn't really enjoying it. Like, I had a good enough time while reading it. Quite a few times I was like, I would rather be reading something else right now. And that's not a good start. So I finished it, gave it a 2 star. I'm glad I was reading it as an ebook because I do read things faster as ebooks, and if I was slogging my way through a physical copy of that book, I probably wouldn't have finished it. I would honestly consider this kind of a bad book. Like, it's not awful. It's not offensively bad or disgraceful or anything. It's just not good, and I'm sad because it's not very often I get to read a book that has a fat girl as the main love interest. Well, I mean, she's the protagonist, but it's kind of split perspective, so I'm still considering her the main love interest. That doesn't happen very often. Seeing that kind of representation is not common. And so when I finally find books that have that representation and they're not that good, it's so disappointing. I feel like Dani Brown had the potential to be such an interesting character, but every element of who she was felt very forced, very convoluted unnecessarily. Things didn't feel like, oh yeah, this is just who Dani Brown is. It was like, no, this is not even a real person at this stage. I don't know. I feel like there was a very severe lack of development on certain things around these characters. I liked the characters, but I feel like they didn't have a chance to really fully form. It didn't feel like there was any point to the book. Like, it had a plot, things happened, but like, why? I don't think any of it was necessary. It was not good. And that was really disappointing because of the 3 books I'm going to be reading for this video, I thought this was going to be the one that I liked the most. So I'm really hoping that things go better from this point on, because I'm not upset about it, I'm just disappointed. I will say reading on my Kindle has been a lot of fun. There is something so nice about holding such a small device and having like all the pages, and it never changes size. And I like being able to see my percentage through the book as I'm reading. I like how quick it is. I like holding it and reading on it. I actually really do like using it. So I am glad that I'm doing this video and kind of making myself use my e-reader a bit more. I'm hoping that I read some better books on here because it's really tainting my experience. I'm ready to move on to the next book. Before You Ghost is really short. It's like under 100 pages, so I guess I'll power through that and then come back and hopefully I like it a bit more. I don't know. I'll see you when I've read that one.
Time before you ghost me out.
So I finished Before You Ghost. To be honest, I didn't expect much from this one, so I can't say I was disappointed. I gave it another 2 stars. This book is just, it's ridiculous. It's like, it's a weird kind of for the sake of being weird. It doesn't feel like it's being clever. It's very short, so I can't really say much about it without, I guess, breaching spoiler territory, but it's not even really like funny, so it's kind of just not worth it. It's bizarre and it's absurd. And it's supposed to be bizarre and absurd, but it's supposed to be like funny and entertaining. And it's not. So there's that. I don't think I understand the point. I don't really think it has a point. I think it's just supposed to be something fun to read over Halloween, which it's not Halloween right now, but I don't think I would have liked it any more if it was. It's just a strange ghost thing. The two protagonists have such an odd relationship with each other. They're in a relationship. They're in a romantic relationship. They're in love, but they spend most of their time arguing and fighting. And when they fight, then they have sex. And I'm like, what is happening? And then he's a ghost. And there's a group of police officers in this book who are the most like disrespectful police. They are childish. The way they behave in regards to our female protagonist is really concerning. The way everybody behaves in regards to our female protagonist is very concerning. She's not really a person so much as a thing, I guess, that just happens to have emotions that people have to deal with. And I'm like, oh god, okay. For a book written by two women, I guess I expected the female protagonist to have a little bit more to her, but substance is not really there in this book. I think the concept of the ghosts was interesting enough, and the way they were done and like the kind of lore of the ghost system was interesting. I did not like the pirate ghost. He was annoying and he wasn't funny. He didn't need to be there. I'm not a huge fan of short stories, so this being so short was not really to its advantage, but I think I could have lived without it, to put it mildly. So this isn't going very well. My Kindle reading vlog situation, I've read two 2-star books. This is disgraceful. This is disgusting. I don't really know what to do about this. Why are you like so hyped? That's better. I don't know if it's really any different, but it's better. I'm now reading The Lost Boy. I don't know why I'm showing you this. I'll put a picture up. By J.M. Sullivan, and I'm liking this so much more. This one I'm feeling good about, and I'm glad because this has not been going well for me so far. This is just a mess of a video, honestly, but yes, I have started reading Lost Boy. I'm having a great time with it so far. But yes, so I'm on the final book for this video, and hopefully I give it more than a freaking 2-star. I will come back when I finished it and give you my final thoughts on that book, and then my final thoughts on this whole experience. I'm not really sure what I thought I was going to gain from this experience. I don't know if I thought that far ahead. I will see you again when I finish Lost Boy.
I am a lost boy from Neverland.
So I finished Lost Boy by J.M. Sullivan. Finally, a book I actually liked in this video. Oh my goodness. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was a really solid sci-fi. Had way less to do with the initial Peter Pan retelling aspect that the first book in the series had, which makes sense. I mean, that story finished, you know? There's not much else to draw from. I don't know how to talk about this because it is a sequel. I will say that even though I read the first book 5 years ago, I was able to read this one pretty easily. I didn't really have that many moments where I was like, what happened? What are we talking about? Who are these people? It was a little bit like that at the start, but then it just all came flooding back. Things that didn't necessarily come back to me straight away, the author hinted at in a good enough way that I could remember without this book feeling like it was just rehashing a whole bunch of stuff. I really liked the character of Wendy. I think we saw a lot of her leadership ability in this book. There were some plot twists in here that some I saw coming, some I did not. The like big thing I called right at the start of the book, which was a bit annoying, but it didn't really hinder my enjoyment of the book itself. The writing was good. I genuinely felt like I cared about these characters, which I think is important, especially for a YA sci-fi book. A lot of the time those books can feel very samey and all characters from all authors just start blurring together, but not in this case. I definitely enjoyed the dynamics that they had with each other and everything. I am a little bit annoyed by the ending of this book because it's like it ended, and part of how it ended I was like, oh, that was a bit too easy, but alright, like, I'll accept it. And then there was an epilogue, and now I can see why there's a book 3, and I'm like, this was unnecessary, this doesn't make sense, and it just is annoying to me. I feel like I don't want a book 3 to this. I feel like I wanted it to end at what I thought was gonna be the ending of this book. I knew there were 3 books when I read this one, and I was kind of wondering what it was gonna do. I just feel like it was unnecessary, and this could have been a duology, and this whole other plot arc that they're gonna introduce in the 3rd book, I have no interest in. I read the synopsis for book 3 and I'm just pissed off about it, quite frankly. Why do so many YA books feel like there needs to be a love triangle? Just let it die. Just let the love triangles die. But I did have a good time reading this one. I had to pull myself away from Taylor Swift's new album to finish reading it. But ultimately, I finished this book. I now have not a single unread ebook on this e-reader, which was my goal at the start. Feels good. Feels real good. But we're gonna go forth to my concluding section of this video, where I'm gonna talk about what I learnt, how I feel, and what I'm gonna take from this going forward.
How would you feel?
So, this is my Kindle. This is my Kindle. She's old. She's an older model of the basic model of Kindle. And I have come to the conclusion throughout the process of filming and reading for this video that I want to upgrade. I want to get the new paperweight. I'm so excited about it because I've realized how much I do really enjoy reading ebooks. I've known that I like reading on this thing since I got it. I've had an e-reader of some description since I was 13. Way back in the ancient days of 2013, my granddad actually bought me a Kobo. This was when my reading was really starting to pick up. They thought it would actually be worth it for me to have one, so he got me one. And that, fun fact, is when I first read the Harry Potter series because it was on my e-reader. I read quite a few things on that, actually. That was also how I read Percy Jackson. The things that I read on there. But for the most part, it was always in the background of me reading physically, primarily. And that has continued to be the case, but it was very much so back then. Now that e-reader was an e-reader from 2013, but I got it in like January, so it was probably from 2012 model. It used to lag and glitch, and I do remember multiple times I would be near the end of a book and the whole thing would just freeze and I couldn't do anything, and it was really annoying. So I didn't utilize it as much as I wanted to. And then flash forward a whole bunch of years to 2018, I picked it up again and I read some things on it, and I realized actually this ebook thing, I could get behind this, but not with this e-reader. And that was when I got my Kindle, my 8th generation basic model Kindle, which was released in 2016, but I got it in 2018. They have since released multiple different versions of the base model since then, but I'm actually interested in getting the paperweight. When I picked that model, I specifically wanted the basic model because I wasn't really sure how much I was gonna use it. You know, I didn't know how big of a thing it was gonna be for me and my reading. And for the past 5 years, it's been perfect. It's been exactly what it needs to be for me, with the basis of my reading being physical. I'm sensing a change in my life. I've really enjoyed reading on this for the past week, and I was reading on this for another video that I made earlier this year, and I really do like it. And I especially like how I can read a book and then not have to store it, and it's less expensive to buy an ebook. These are like the main selling points of e-readers, but for me I was always like, no, I want the physical feeling of a book in my hands, and I want to have shelves upon shelves upon shelves of books in my life. And that was true. It's feeling less true now. I feel a deep urge to really downsize my library at the moment. It's not particularly large in the grand scheme of like booktube people. It's the most books anybody I personally know owns, but I just feel like I look at these shelves and it's never right. It's never what I want it to look like. There's things that I feel like I don't need. There's books that I really loved but I don't want to own anymore, and I'm constantly getting rid of books, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with getting rid of books. It's just really annoying to have to constantly find somewhere to put them, somewhere to take them. It gets old quick. With the vast volume that I am acquiring and reading books, that's a lot, and it is annoying and I'd rather not have to do it all the time. So I feel like I'm ready to take the plunge. I make it sound like it's a bad thing. I think that going forward, I actually want to read a majority of books as ebooks and only get physical copies for the things that I desperately love or really have a strong tie to. I do think my long-term goal is to downsize my library enough to not have so many bookcases. I currently have 4. I think I would be quite happy to ditch one, but I definitely feel like this experience has shown me that my love of reading is not limited to just a physical book. I enjoy taking in stories and reading text and taking in a story that way, and that doesn't have to be physical pages. And for a long time I felt like I was responsible for keeping the bookstores around me open. That was never the case. I don't think I've ever been buying books in a high enough volume to actually contribute to that whatsoever. But it felt like physical books were under threat of disappearing. I no longer feel that way. Since Book Talk kind of exploded, physical books have been going absolutely crazy. Anytime I go to the bookstore, it's packed full of people. It's crazy. Excuse me. Are you dying? I think my dude is dying. I've kind of had this big revelation about my own relationship with reading, and I think I want to be a Kindle girly, but I don't know. I don't think I'll ever stop buying physical books because they are so important to me. I think my relationship to reading has changed and it's less materialistic. This year has been quite eye-opening to me. You know, this was the year I started going to the library. I think there will always end up being some books that I read as ebook and then want a physical copy of. I think that's just par for the course, being someone who does hold reading as such an integral part of my personality. But I feel like I don't need to own this much stuff. I'm gonna continue moving forward in my reading life and just see if I gradually do start reading more things as ebooks. I also think this will be a very good money saving thing for me personally, the way that I buy books and the way that I buy ebooks. I buy books and I stockpile and hoard them like nuts for the winter as if I'm gonna run out or something. That has actually happened a few times admittedly, but like it's never actually a big deal. But with ebooks, the whole reason I wanted to film this video was because I had unread ebooks on my Kindle and I didn't like it. My process with ebooks is that I buy it and then I read it straight away, and that's the whole cycle. And I just had ended up with some unread ones and it was driving me crazy. But now I've read them. I have no unread ebooks and a hell of a lot of unread physical books, so I guess I'm gonna have to go back to those for a while, despite how excited I am about the world of Kindle. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope it made some kind of sense. I don't know if it made a lot of sense. Please leave a like if you did enjoy this video. It does help out the channel, and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. I post every week and I'm having a great time. I'm a little chaotic, but you know what? If you've watched this far, you know that already. But for now, that's all from me, and I hope I see you next time in my next video. Bye!